It's going to tell me. There, I'm recording now. Brilliant. Okay, so I'll do my introduction now and then we'll be off. Okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome. We are here today to talk about our STAR scheme and our latest nomination. Tiegan Adcock has been nominated in the growth category. Tiegan's had quite the journey with North West Leicestershire, and so we've got a couple of her managers here today to talk about that journey and how it's all gone and where she's ended up. So first of all, David, you were Tiegan's first manager when she joined the council as an apprentice. What was she like back then, all that time ago?
She was nervous, I think it's fair to say. She was a little bit reserved, but there was a spark there. There was something about Tiegan which was demonstrated very clearly within the tasks that were set for her during her interview. And clearly, she demonstrated both a mathematical grasp, but also, perhaps as importantly, the ability to pull together a letter and to ensure that the information in it was very clear and was to the point, I suppose. I found that Tiegan was incredibly keen to learn, was always asking questions, and it was important, I think, for myself and also for Tiegan that she was given the freedom almost within the framework to explore, to understand how the office functioned, and importantly our principles within Rent Accounting team, which for us is customer first. It was very difficult for Tiegan in such an early role, I guess, because a lot of the inquiries that we had from customers was around financial information and financial requests, and we tried to impress on her, and she picked it up very quickly, that it's not always the best policy to try to second guess or try to, I guess, try to figure out on the phone whilst the customer is actually in conversation with you, the best advice or the right calculations for providing information back to the customer. And we did impress on her that it was important to perhaps take information, end the call, inquire with colleagues, and then to make the call back with the right information, so that customer had the confidence to make a decision. But Tiegan was fantastic, a real team player, got on very well with everybody in the team. And I was just talking to one of my colleagues just yesterday about this, and she was saying if she ever wants to come back, you've got her paroled.
So what was it like being an apprentice at the council then, Tiegan?
Yeah, I can echo David's comments that it was very nerve-wracking, especially the first few months. I was very shy, very nervous. It was quite a big step for me coming straight from my A-levels. I'd never worked in an office before. So not only was I really nervous just speaking on the phone, but also meeting new people and having to sit in an office with loads of people I didn't know. And yeah, that was quite a nerve-wracking sort of situation, and I do think that I really lacked in confidence as well back when I first started, because everything was just so new to me and there was so much to learn, and sometimes you think, oh, will I be able to do it, am I good enough? But David and, like I said, the whole team were absolutely brilliant. I feel like I was pushed just the right amount, so I was never sort of thrown in the deep end or felt like I was doing something that I couldn't do. But he also didn't let me just coast along. I was always constantly learning, being pushed. I remember I sort of attended lots of more corporate meetings just to get a better understanding of the council as a whole, because obviously it's such a big organisation and I was only in a little office with a few people, so you only ever I only ever really knew properly about housing. So David sort of pushed me to go to the more corporate meetings, which were brilliant, go to project meetings, just so I better understood what the council did. Also pushed me to support other teams as well. So I spent some time with housing management for 1 day a week, sort of going in there, which really helped my confidence with sort of meeting new people, talking to people I hadn't met before, dealing with queries. Like David said, the big thing which I've always kept with me ever since I started was never try and answer the questions there and then if you're not 100% sure. And that's something I've brought with me still today. I'm always saying, I'll call you back, let me just double check. So that was something really valuable that I still use today. Yeah, the apprenticeship on a whole was brilliant. I really enjoyed my course. I went to college 1 day a week, which was sort of nice to still have an environment where I was going out of the office for a day, and learnt a lot of valuable skills from the course itself as well, because it was a general business admin one, which was, yeah, really good.
Brilliant. So your apprenticeship carried on when you were snapped up by Andy Wallace to join his new Arian implementation project team.
Yes.
What did you do for that team?
So I was seconded to that project team to help implement the new system. I was project support officer, so I sort of dealt with all the admin, and then Andy sort of pushed me, so not just the admin and organising meetings, taking minutes, speaking with external suppliers and that sort of thing. He also pushed me to sort of lead on the comms side of it, and also the training as well. He was like, do this comms plan. I was like, I've never done a comms plan before, but I'll do it. So yeah, I led the comms and the training as well, and organised all the training, set up all the sessions for staff. So yeah, a lot of admin skills in that, doing highlight reports, action plans, and just trying to help keep the project on track and reminding people in the team what they had to do and when.
Brilliant. So something quite special happened during your time with Andy as your manager. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so it was in one of my reflections actually. The conversation came up about development and what it was that I wanted to do. The project was only a seconded role, and my apprenticeship with David had already finished in that time, so I had nothing to go back to. And then I sort of realised in the reflection that I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I'd never really thought about it. I enjoyed what I was doing, but I knew that I didn't want to do admin for the rest of my life, and I wanted to find something I was passionate about. So that's when Andy suggested that I did coaching, the internal sort of coaching scheme. So I had a coach. We met once a week for a few months, and we sort of went through what it was I could see myself in. We picked out the qualities that I thought I'd got, and we tried to match that with potential job roles. And I came out of that coaching having a much clearer idea of what it was that I wanted to do. So from that, I went back to Andy and said, I'm sort of interested in these job areas. Would you support me putting in job shadowing requests, just so I could shadow the team and see if I can actually see myself doing it? So the first team I chose was HR. So I put my application in, and yeah, I job shadowed Emma for a couple of months. So yeah, that was brilliant. And yeah, without Andy, I wouldn't have realised what I wanted to do. So
excellent. So the next opportunity you had was a little bit of a curveball, because I was going on maternity leave and we needed someone to backfill Rob's role, and you decided to apply for that job. I remember interviewing you against a field of candidates that were all experienced communications professionals or communications journalism type graduates, and you stood out. You stood out because you really clearly demonstrated the values for the council, which, I mean, obviously you had a head start on that one. But you also just had the acumen we need in comms, the attention to detail, the nous, the just sort of simple understanding of the way that we do things and the way that we need to do things to make sure the council's reputation is upheld, and that we're communicating in the clearest possible way. Going back to what David said, it's, you know, writing a clear letter to a resident isn't an easy thing, and it's not something everybody can do. So your actual communication skills were really good, and you ended up sitting in that job. And obviously you picked up some good skills there. I know that you learned a lot about writing for different audiences, and you still use a lot of those skills, I think, in your job now, because I think now you're sitting in your sort of, maybe not your dream job, but certainly your first step on your dream career, as HR officer, and Emma's your manager now.
Yeah.
So Emma, how's Tiegan doing in HR?
Oh, brilliantly, I think. Yeah, so basically what happened towards the end of last year in HR was we sort of stepped up our involvement in the work we needed to do for the future working model, some of the L&D, learning and development training activities, etc. So we asked for some temporary resource to support me in some of the work that I was doing. So we put out an advert for a HR officer, and Tiegan applied, and has proven to be a really valuable asset within that, the amount of work that she's done. And I think just listening to the journey back again has been a really lovely reflection, because, you know, all of the skills that we've learned along the way, or Tiegan's learned along the way, in terms of the way she's writing, you know, she's a key contact in terms of the comms from a HR point of view, but also that sort of diplomacy and respect for the customer. You know, so very polite, but also gets things done, very organized. So, you know, Tiegan's a great one for going into a meeting and kind of going, okay, we need to move this bit of work forward. What can you do? I'll support you in that, if that means that we can drive something forward. So as a result, we've now got the mandatory training programs. You know, we've had a real overhaul of the learning pool, and really got to grips with a training calendar, so people know what's expected of them in terms of learning and development. You know, she's doing big pieces of work. She's getting exposure in terms of, we were looking yesterday at a CLT report that we're drafting. She's not done one of those before, Tiegan, have you? So it was really good, and she'd put something together. I'd not asked her to. We said we'd sit and do it together, but came along with a draft and said, what do we think? So yeah, really pleased with how Tiegan's getting on, and hopefully she's enjoying it. And I think the next step now is to broaden her experience and wider HR, breadth of HR. So I'm going to have to let her go at some point, and, you know, get her into those interviews, get her into those meetings that HR do, so that experience is built on. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
What a brilliant story of growth through the council. It sounds like you have really applied yourself, Tiegan. It also sounds like you've had some really good managers who've pushed you and supported you along the way. Do you want to pick your favourite?
Absolutely not.
Too cruel, I'm sorry. Okay, well, that gives people a bit of an overview of the kind of thing we're looking for in terms of the STAR scheme, and seeing people's journey, seeing people's growth during their time here at North West. So if you do have a nomination, if there is a colleague that you've noticed grow and develop, then please do put your nomination in. Okay, well, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.